See, the most important thing I would feel is standardization. Today, let's say any particular product is packed in 10 different ways across the industry. And
Hmm.
that makes the recycling a bit more difficult. And then you are left with chemical recycling as the only option.
Every country has their own guidelines as to sustainability, and it's become very difficult, what standards to adhere to.
We were the first companies to convert soap packaging into a recyclable structure. But we still see many companies using the traditional structure, which is more expensive, not recyclable, and so on and so forth. Mechanical recycling is also picking up in different ways and forms, and that is where a company like ours can contribute much more in terms of making packaging structures which are recyclable in nature. I firmly believe that you should not let the thing stuck due to lack of decision making. Once a while, you will end up doing some mistakes here and there, and it's
Hmm.
important that you realize them and you correct them.
Good morning, Mr. Pankaj. I'm delighted to have you on Legends of Metalizing. Mr. Pankaj Podhar is currently the Group CEO of Cosmo First Limited, heading the company's fast growing consumer business, Ziggly, alongside the multiple trade verticals like Cosmo Films, Cosmo Plastic, Cosmo Sunshield, and Cosmo Specialty Films. His career spans over 26 years, where he was a turnaround specialist and a quick decision maker with strengths in commercial, analytics, negotiation, team engagement, and strategy building, which mirrored in his leadership at Cosmo Films. Once again, Mr. Pankaj, I welcome you to this podcast.
Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Pankaj, like I said, Cosmo First has diversified into several verticals like Ziggly, Cosmo Films, Cosmo Specialty Chemicals. So, how do you decide which sectors to invest in, and on what challenges do you face when you are managing such diverse lines?
Yeah. So, see, obviously, most of our businesses are intertwined with our Cosmofilm business, where we started way back 40 years in 2000, sorry, 1981. So, if you really see Cosmo Films, Cosmo Specialty Chemicals, Cosmo Sunshield, they are somehow related to Cosmo Film in one way or the other. They were easier decisions to make, because let's say if you talk about Sunshield, it's an extension of our polyester film. And when you talk about Cosmo Specialty Chemical, it's going to the same set of customers, though obviously the product lines are a bit different, but it goes to the same set of customers. When it comes to Ziggly, when we were deciding this, we were looking to get into a consumer business. And that's the reason later on we also got into Cosmo Science Shield, and now we are entering Cosmo PPF, which is paint protection films. So it was a strategic move that, we have all our eggs into industrial business, and we should get into some consumer business. And we studied around close to 60, 70 businesses. And eventually we liked pet care a lot because when we were studying this way back in 2015, there were no organized players in this industry. And this industry was supposed to grow leaps and bounds, over the years. Very emotional business, no large players still in this category. And therefore we said, why don't we become an omni-channel player when it comes to pet care as such?
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Suddenly, going from industrial products to pet care is like a very drastic shift.
Yeah.
And so, coming back to the films business, so, given the increased emphasis on sustainability, it's basically, the elephant in the room today. Everybody's talking about sustainability. So, can you tell me what steps Cosmo First is taking on these fronts?
I will say we were the first ones to talk about sustainability way back in 2016. I remember I presented a paper in 2016 stating that all the flexible packaging should be into polyolefin structures, which can improve the recyclability of these films. That time, people thought that, I am going extremes and it may not be possible because India was quite a bit
Mm.
of polyester market at that stage. And, I was talking more about monomaterial structures, and eventually, 2017, the first law came. Nothing much happened after that. There was a lot of noise. But what I see over the years is that the pressure from the various governments across the globe is growing year after year. And, eventually we need to find some solution. The good thing is that there are multiple solutions which are coming up in this.
Yeah.
But coming back specifically to Cosmos, we are always into polyolefin structures, and that's really the limelight for most of the brands, I would say, globally. And thereon also, because to make monomaterial structures in polyolefin, you need to have ultra high barrier films, which can replace metallized polyester or aluminum foil in many cases, or even nylon films. And then you need to have a film which is printable on the top. because otherwise BOPP in general has a tendency to shrink. So we came out with first, heat resistant film, and then we came out with super high heat resistant film. And now I'm glad that even some of the polymer companies are thinking about bringing resins which can be heat resistant in polypropylene itself. So there's a clear trend from that perspective when the whole industry is looking at creating structures which can be recycled. The second thing which Cosmo is doing is to increase its own recycling capacity so that we can recycle more products and also use more recycled into our films and widget packaging. So these are some of the initiatives that Cosmo is taking. Now, sustainability is a very big word. It is not just limited to the products you make. We're also doing a lot when it comes to rainwater harvesting, ensuring that we use minimal water. The noise pollution is the least possible in the plant premises. We plant thousands of trees every year. So we have planted till now close to 100,000 trees, just to make sure that, we consume carbon from the environment. So there are a lot of other initiatives that we are taking as a company, reducing packaging material when it comes to a finished product. So we are taking a lot of these measures to make sure that we are a more sustainable company, clean company, less carbon footprint company, and so on.
Yeah, yeah. And Mr. Pankaj, you mentioned that there's a lot of things happening on the sustainability front. A lot of new materials are also coming up. So, what do you think are the biggest upcoming trends in the packaging industry, particularly with regards to material and technology?
So there are two, three things which are coming up. One is that there is chemical recycling, which is now possible with plastics. Earlier, it was possible only with polyester, and now it is possible with mixed plastics. And many Indian, I would say all the companies or most of the companies in India are looking at that option to basically get the waste plastic, convert it into pyrolysis oil, and then convert it into almost like a new resin. So that is one very good initiative which is happening in the industry, because otherwise a lot of these plastic was going for landfill. The second good initiative which is happening is that a lot of this plastics is now being incinerated to produce electricity. And you could see a lot of waste to energy plants coming up all over the country.